I welcome you to Special Education with Hamid Naqvi, and today we are going to talk about making an ideal IEP. In this session, we are going to explain IEP with concrete specimens. At least 3 specimens would be presented at the end, and one specimen is made by a student, and that would be critical examined so that we learn from his good points and weak points. So let's start. First of all, what is an IEP? An IEP stands for Individualized Education Program or Plan. It is a document that is developed for the child who has special needs. Now, IEP can be made for a student who is studying in a general education and he has some special needs. And IEP can be made for a special student who is studying in a special institution, but within his peers, his all special needs are not being looked after, and he has some particular need which has to be taken care of, for which an individual education plan is to be made and executed. Components of an IEP. For an ideal IEP, there are at least 6 main components. Each one is very important. The first one is the profile of the child. It is followed by the IEP team. Then the present level of performance, then short-term and long-term goals, followed by support services, and at the end, evaluation. Each one would be explained and a concrete example would be given. The first one is the profile of the child. In this, all relevant details which are helpful about the child are mentioned in this part. Now here as an example, we have started making an IEP side by side. We'll mention one component and then we'll make a recommendation and give a concrete example so that you are absolutely clear what you all are going to write. Theory and practical will go side by side. Name of the student is Ali Raza. His father's name is Hamid Hussain. Age of the child is 7 years. His disability is he is mentally challenged child, is MR a boy. Level is severe. He has got 4 sisters and 2 of them are affected. That is worth noting. His father's income is 1 lakh per month, and why the income of father is required and it is important to be noted in profile, we'll come to know later. The profile continues on the next page as well, and address of that child, then phone number of the father or the family, then institution in which he is studying is Army Special Education Academy, Rawalpindi. Now that was first component. Now second important component of IEP is IEP team itself. IEP team is put together by a multidisciplinary team. Any IEP, individualized education plan, is not made by an individual professional, but that is a group of people. They are called multidisciplinary team, coming from different disciplines. This can include parents and caregivers. They are an important part of it. Then child's class teacher, child's learning support teacher, related services provider such as occupational therapist, speech therapist, physiotherapist, psychologist, and a coordinator. Now, here comes the practical example of the IEP team for the IEP which we are making just now. Class teacher, we have to mention the name. What is the name of the class teacher? Is Madam Rida. Then psychologist is Madam Misbah. Then occupational therapist is Wakar. Then parent, mother of the child, that is Mrs. Hamid Hussain. Then social welfare officer, he is also required. We'll come to know why later. Then physician, the doctor would also be a member of the IEP team, that is Dr. Iftikhar, and a coordinator, of course, would be there, and Madam Rifat would act as coordinator. Now, third important segment of IEP is present level of performance. Now, in this is, people confuse it, especially the young potential teachers who are getting into the field newly, they confuse. Now, all the strengths and weaknesses of the child are meant to be mentioned here. It is almost a sort of pen picture, complete pen picture. Without seeing a child, if you read it, you should be able to have a fair idea about the child. So strength and weaknesses, and in all human fields, and all human fields means physical, intellectual, social, emotional, or in the development of all fields, you have to mention about that, whether positive, negative, plus, minus, strength or weakness. Now, strength, as I mentioned earlier, include how does he look like, his physical appearance, his height, weight, his mobility, his eyesight, his hearing, and all his sensory growth. That is to be mentioned to give a fair idea about the child. Then weaknesses of Ali Raza. They are, for instance, he is intellectually subnormal. Hyperkinetic syndrome is diagnosed by the doctor. Lacks attention span and often does not pay heed to instructions given by anyone. His self-help skills are limited. Toilets habits not developed. Does not play with class fellows. So one need to be very clear what are his plus or minus, what are his strengths and weaknesses, and you need to give it in greater detail. I have just outlined it here for this boy who's under a discussion for whom the IEP is being made. Goal setting. Now that is fourth important segment of IEP, and here you find there are two types of goals: short-term goals and long-term goals. Now, students are confused as far as goals and their nature is concerned, as the goals and objectives in lesson plan confuse some students. So, goal setting in IEP also confuse some students. Please be a little watchful. What makes a good goal for an IEP? Same characteristics, same objectives of lesson plan. If you remember, in our previous video, we talked about objectives of lesson planning. Same five characteristics are important for the objectives of this IEP as well. First one is specific. Remember SMART objectives of lesson planning? Same SMART objectives in here in IEP as well. First one was S for specific. Be specific and focus on one skill at a time. Be measurable to monitor progress. Measurable. That was difficult to understand in case of lesson planning as well as, and some of the new students mix up here also. And we'll give the instance, and in that you would get a clearer idea of that. Then use action words to describe how to address the skill, right? Then be realistic. The targets or goals which you are setting for the boy in this IEP should be achievable. They should be realistic. And then be time limited. Again, almost 15% students we observe do not cater for this aspect of goal setting. So you should have smart goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time limited. And a precise example, goal setting for Ali Raza. Please watch out here. Please do not mix up. IEP is usually for one problem. One problem is usually addressed in IEP of one student, right? But in certain cases, you may set goals that this is our primary goal, and since the secondary goal is also relevant or connected, so secondary goal should also be taken care of. But ideal IEP is the one in which one problem, one issue is tried to resolve. And in this particular case, which we are taking up, that case of Ali Raza, the IEP of Ali Raza we are trying to take care of his sociability side. He has many problems. If you want, I can go back and tell you what all problems he had. See that? He lacks attention. He is hyperactive. He is disruptive, and self-help skills are limited. Toilets have, but we are taking care of only one problem and one issue for which we are making IEP, and that is this one, sociability. And for that, we have set short-term goals as well as long-term goals. Be very, very clear. Usually, normally, short-term goals are limited to 1 quarter, that is 3 months. And we said that in 1 quarter, he would do this. In 2nd quarter, he would do that. For instance, here in this particular case, in quarter number 1, we'll play next to other children during highly preferred activities. For example, sandbox for 10 minutes daily. Again, I'll read that for you. We'll play next to other children during highly preferred activities for 10 minutes. What we do? What is the problem? He does not mix up. So what the solution we have suggested and we are aiming at in 1st quarter, in first 3 months, he will play next to the children for 10 minutes. We have time bound this goal, this activity. Quarter 2 will play next to other children for 15 minutes daily. Then this slide continues, and in quarter 3 we'll play next to other children for 20 minutes. In quarter 4 we'll play next to other children for 25 minutes. It can be quarter 5 also, 6 also, depending how long you have got long-term plan. And then long-term goals, say you have got for 1 year, you have fixed it at 1 year. You think that the IEP team thinks that the boy is capable enough of doing it within 1 year. So you have distributed his task in 4 quarters and precisely given that after the end of each quarter, what do you expect? At the end of the fourth quarter, you expect that he would play for about 25 minutes. After 1 year, will play next to other children doing highly preferred activities for 25 minutes. So hopefully this is clear that you have fixed up a goal which is time bound, which is achievable, which is specific, and which has been spelled out in clear terms. Now, fifth segment is sports services. Now, for sport services, keyword is 3 M's. How much manpower would be required for this goal to be achieved, and what sort of manpower would be required? What sort of professionals would be required? What sort of material would be required, and how much money would be required? Material maybe in form of hearing aid. Money, maybe if you have to hire a speech therapist or a psychologist, you have to pay for the fees, so money would be required. That's why we, in the earlier stages, you would be surprised that why we mentioned about the monthly income of the parent. Monthly income is mentioned in the parent that once the IEP team decides that such services are to be provided, which the institution cannot afford, then the parent would be asked to pay for it. If the parent cannot afford, then social welfare officer would be involved to seek sponsorship for that boy. So that should be clear, that 3 M's, that is money, matter, and material. Men, matter, and men, matter, and money. That is required. Those professionals which are required, what material it would be required, and how much finances would be required. So that is, and it would be precisely mentioned when these things would be required, from which date they would be required, at which location they would be required, and in which quantity they would be required. Now, sports services, see this. Here is the sports services for Ali Raza. Now, it has been precisely mentioned that first quarter of this IEP will start from 1st January 2021. Everybody knows when the IEPs start implementing, who would be responsible and who would be doing all that. Miss Rabia, who is a qualified RBT, will be responsible for implementing the ABA prepared by the specialist, right? Then this will be implemented during the activities period, when it would be done. After 7th period or the last period, or in between somewhere where it can be fixed up, or within the parameter of the institution or out of the parameter of the institution. Everything should be precisely clear, that when this activity would start, who would be responsible for this activity, what all professionals would be required, what all money and matter would be required. If a child is to be transported outside, the vehicle is required, who would pay for the vehicle. That all is the details are to be mentioned in this sports. Then the last segment is evaluation. In evaluation, how the child's progress towards the annual goals will be measured, and how the parents will be regularly informed of their child's progress. So evaluation of Ali Raza would be done like this, that Ali Raza will be reassessed after each quarter and goals reset if required by IEP team. A graph will be kept showing the amount of time spent playing next to children every day. So his progress will be monitored. As I said, the objective or the goal should be countable, quantifiable, measurable. So in this particular case, every day we'll measure his progress and monitor it and put it in a graph. Now, that was one case of making an IEP. We made an IEP of Ali Raza. Now the second example I'll give, then third example I'll give, in which outline form I'll just highlight the main issues and main problems. I'll not touch upon in detail what would be the profile and what would be the IEP team. That you can assume yourself. But the main crux is what would be the goals, what is the what would be the goal setting, and what would be the services required. So here it is. We have got a child whose problem is acquiring balance. While moving around, he loses his balance, right? So long-term goal is that acquire the balance, right? And short-term goals, quarterly goals, are learning to hop. Once he would hop, and the hopping would increase. At the end, it is expected the physiotherapist, the occupational therapist, one who has minutely worked out on his fine motor skill and gross motor skills, has told us that that would be like this. So main thing is who. The child name is Sidra. What will hop on either foot? One foot up, the other foot up, that would she would hop. Where and when? During the free period in the classroom. How well? 5 consecutive hops on each foot. Now, I have just given this second example in outline form. You can construct your complete, you can take it as home assignment as well. And if you construct an IEP on this, you can forward it to me. I'll check and I'll let you know how good that is. Now, a third example is, here is another child who has lack of attention span problem. Name is Uzma. And what? Will sit quietly and not talk out of turn. This is our goal. What? Will sit quietly and not talk out of turn. When and where? In the classroom during the story time. And how well? What is the target we have fixed up? For first quarter, 10 minutes, second quarter, 12 minutes, third quarter, 15 minutes, fourth quarter, 20 minutes. For now, this exercise she will have with the RBT after a thorough ABA prepared by the professional, and 5 days a week she would have this exercise. And these are the targets that are set. Again, an example which is given as food for thought for you. You make an IEP, forward it to me, and I can check it for you how good you have understood the whole exercise. Now here it is. A student has made an IEP. A student has made an IEP. You can see this is a form which is filled in, pen written, and then forwarded it. Let's see how well he has made the IEP. Name. Now my first point, I'll point out good points as well as weaknesses. My first objection is this profile part. This is the profile part. I mentioned very clearly that the profile should be in detail about all possible relevant facts about that child for whom this is being made. Now, name is mentioned, age mentioned, and level mentioned. We even do not know whether it is MR, MC, VIC, HIC, whatever. At least not from the profile, right? That is the IEP team, second component. Okay, at least first component given, second component given, that is sketchy, that is not filled. Date of meeting, duration of program, date of initiation, date of summary. Well, this should have been written, but this is written here. It's okay. We do not have hard and fast rules for the format, but it should have been done in a better way. Now, then, the third I mentioned was present level of performance. Now, instead of present level of performance, they have used different words. Maybe they have done a present level of performance here. Behavior profile. Something about the behavior, it is written here. Then initial assessment. Who did initial assessment? We do not know. He says Dr. Shahid Akhtar has done it. I'm sorry. The assessment is to be done by IEP team. The specialist sitting there with the feedback of everyone. The class teacher is sitting here. Parents are sitting there. They are giving the feedback. The professionals themselves are observing here. They are testing him. After that, they are making an IEP. So my question here is that who did it? Why he is exclusively given the task to do that? Then teacher's observation. Well, this is complete teacher's observation. Fine, teacher's input is required. But you know, the second portion, that is present level of performance, should have been written in a better way. All his strengths and weaknesses. As I mentioned earlier on, strength starting from physical appearance, then physical activity, his minor motor skills, his communication skills, his social skills, his emotional level, and his behavior, you all include that. So it is written here, but it could have been written in a more better sequence and much better way. And in between the lines, somewhere the weaknesses are also given. I would suggest that strength and weaknesses should be separated and highlighted. Then annual goals are set here. And services required. This is third and fourth and fifth segment done like this. I would imagine it to be done in a better way, as I mentioned earlier on. And one point which one observation which I have, that he has taken up two goals equally strong, goal 1, goal 2. And for that, he has made these columns reflect date to be started, date to be completed. I think one-liner was sufficient. As I wrote in case of IEP of Ali Raza, I wrote it would consist of 4 quarters. First quarter would start on 1st of January 2020. So it's logical. Quarter would end on 31st March. Simple. Second quarter would start on 1st April. And you can do without these columns, right? These columns you can do without it. Again here, you can do without these columns. Just write the quarter 1, this would happen. Quarter 2, this would happen. Quarter 3, this would happen. Quarter 4, this would happen. And the final long-term goal, this is what is happened, and in clear-cut terms. He continues with the same exercise, and as I mentioned that he has fixed 2 goals for him. So in fact, he has made 2 IEPs in one IEP in this particular case. I would prefer that on one aspect there should be one IEP exclusively to deal. You can have 3 IEP for Ali Raza on different aspects, but on one aspect preferably. But if there is some secondary problem related to the major problem, well, good enough. You can have that carry on side by side and taken care of. This is how he has finished. It was well written in a different manner, in a different sequence, followed probably a format which I've seen somewhere. Good, fine. I hope with this session, you would have be absolutely clear about writing IEP. In case you have a problem, you can write in the comments. I'll discuss it with you, or you can come in my inbox. I can again discuss it for you. And if you like this video, please do not hesitate to click on like, click and share it. And in case you have not subscribed, please subscribe it. That next video you are notified when it has been uploaded.